Welcome back to the Stella Build Part 2. The boys have been busy getting everything in. Yeah. So in this episode, we are looking at, we've got engine, transmission in, got tank out, but we've also mounted the battery in the boot as well. So we'll go over some detailed stuff on what you should expect if you're doing the same thing. Time to get this battery in the boot and try and work out where we're going to put it. Got a pretty good idea where we're going to put it, and that's between that sort of drop well in the quarter panel and the fuel tank, because there's a nice flat area there. But it's got ridges, and underneath the chassis rail does run along there too. So let's see what we can work out. We've got our Optima battery, and we have our Aeroflow battery bracket. These brackets do suit the Optima battery because of the rounded corners. So if you are going to do this, make sure you get a bracket to suit the battery. And if you're going to put it in the boot, you do need one of these batteries because it's a fully sealed, can go sideways, can go upside down. You can mount that however you really want. Need to have that because it's inside the vehicle, so as a safety thing, they've got to be one of those. There were the Billet Specialty brackets, which pretty much are identical, and they were $100 difference, so I didn't see the point of going the Billet Specialty one, so that's why I went the Aeroflow. Now, we're going to mount it around here, but the chassis rail runs there. Where the lip of the chassis rail is, I think we're going to have to bolt through that. Just make sure we've got some good washers, and that's going to keep that support there. I don't really want to drill through it, but I don't see it's any different to having an extra spot weld really on that rail, because that's how it's joined to the floor. It's just spot welds along that chassis rail, so I think it should be all right. And yeah, just some nice, decent bolts, some decent washers. We should be happy days. Use some pop rivets just to mark them roughly and get through. And then what I'm going to do is use soldering iron, and that's a little tech tip, is with a drill, the drill is going to catch on all the fabric of the carpet. So use a soldering iron. Once it's hot, you push it through, and that'll sort of seal the end of the fabric and give you a hole that you need. And that trick also works well when you're putting carpet inside the cab, when you're doing like your seat bolts and also your seat belt bolts too. So soldering on through the hole helps it. There we are, 4 nice holes. Yep, beautiful. Ready for our mount. Been cleaning the stroker up to go into Stella, and I was a bit sus when I pulled the intake gaskets off. I don't know if you can see, there's a bit of oil soakage on the gasket, and it's on most of it, like around the ports, and you can only really tell once you sort of look at the ends. And when I looked inside the intake ports and the cylinders, they were a little bit wet as well. And with how much silicon they had on it and with the multiple silicon colors, I reckon they were having issues with maybe vacuum leak. And I reckon it was the gaskets. And I'll show you why. So here's the manifold sitting on, and it's bottomed out in the valley. And there is a gap. You can just see it there, and also you can well and truly see that gap there. So I've got the gasket, it slides in, and also relatively easy slides in. So I don't think that they checked that. Have seen guys have that issue before where they get new heads, new manifold, and the manifold needs to be skimmed or machined. Sometimes it's the way the V needs to be machined, but in this instance it is the bottom of the manifold. I'm going to have to get machined off. Could, if I really wanted to, just hit it with a grinder, but that is crap. So I'm probably going to take it down to Milton's, get them to just skim it, back end, front, be nice and easy, and shouldn't cost too much, maybe $100 or something, I'm guessing. But yeah, give us a better result at the end. And then when we go to actually seal it, yes, we do use silicon there, not the cork pieces. Yeah, should get a better sealing at that point too. Manifold is back from Milton's, so I'm going to chuck it on and see how it looks. Should be all right. Told them to take 4 mil off the bottom of the valley and not worry about the faces. So I think 4 mil will be not too close to the block, so you get half decent seal there. And yeah, hopefully the faces will nicely touch the heads as well. Right, she's on, and as you can see, got a nice couple of mil gap there, and the manifold is definitely touching the heads, which is awesome. It's what we wanted. Now I'm going to have to double check and make sure our bolt holes line up. Can't really see in there because it's too dark, but that's all right. We get some bolts because I've got an ARP bolt kit for the whole thing, so I'll put some of these bolts in, make sure that they go in nicely, otherwise we're just going to have to get a bit of a round file and elongate those holes a little bit. It's not the end of the world, happens plenty of times I'm sure, so yeah, let's get some bolts. We have a couple of issues here. One, my ARP bolts, I'm pretty sure, are going to be way too long, but that's okay because they're probably more to suit, yeah, more standard manifolds, I suppose you say, like a dual plane, but that's probably going to be easy enough to sort out. But this does prove my point of, see that gap there, because the manifold's sitting on the bolt, and there's another big gap there. So the holes are going to have to be elongated, because even at the back, oh, that's a massive gap, big enough gap there. So I'll elongate those holes out, get proper bolts, something a bit shorter than what they are, and yeah, it'll be all right. Next part to fit, tough mounts. Now I'm going to give them a bit of a shout out here, not just because of the product itself so much, like a heap of people use them, so obviously they're good. But when I rang Jason and spoke to him, he was very honest, which is awesome, and it's hard to find that these days. So I said, I want engine mounts and I want trans mount. He asked me what power this is putting out. It's a bit over 600. He asked application. Said mainly street. May do a drag every now and then. I'm pretty sure Cocky's just going to enjoy it, have fun, but he's not going to get serious into the drag racing. He actually said, don't worry about the trans mount. Just get a stock one because it's not needed in this application, which I've got a lot of respect for that. So he could have taken the money and just been happy with it and then just sold me the product. I was happy to buy it. But he was honest and told me, don't worry about it, get a stock one. Stock one's like, I don't know, $40, whatever it was. I can't remember, to be honest. But anyway, they're not that expensive compared to the tough mount ones. So definitely we do need some engine ones because even with the 351, you will tear through a stock engine mount if you put it in the right thing. So something like this, definitely going to tear through some stock ones. So let's fit these tough mount ones and see what they look like. They are quite nice. Now, Cocky doesn't want fancy, like bling bling stuff everywhere. So I went for black bushes, and to be honest, I think the black bushes look better than red. Yeah, I reckon they're heaps better. Running the standard base plates in the car, so you can see down in there we've got the standard base plates. So these will go beautifully under that, and then onto the engine. So let's fit this up. There's the part number, or they're the ones there, the TM200s. Big step of this build is upgrading the fuel system. Going to keep the original tank, except we're going to have to put a bit of a rear sump here because the original pickup's further at the front. So I bought an Aeroflow sheet metal rear sump that just goes in the middle here. I actually have one on my car as well. Less chance of fuel surge and bigger outlets too. And then we can just run some nice fittings, some line up to the front to supply the nice big mechanical pump. So that's what I've done on mine. This weld's in place there. Do have another outlet, and then that fuel line runs all the way up to my engine bay. It goes down there for the mechanical pump. So pretty much what I've done on that is what I'll do on this. I pulled the carpet out the boot, and already I'm going to be in a bit of annoyance because it's full of dynamating and it's all over the bolts, and on this side there's not a nice cut there, so I'm going to have to cut the dynamat, clean around where the bolt heads are so I can actually undo the thing and get the tank out. If you're by yourself, try to pull out a fuel tank. Engine crane works well. Hook it up to the spare wheel holder and there you go, pull it out. Not sure if I made that look easy or hard. Probably made it look hard, but anyway. Is doable by yourself. No damage to the car. Happy days, that's a win. Quick disclosure, don't go welding this thing straight away. My other video that I did had a guy, sorry guys in America, but you sue people way too often. This guy had to go at me because I didn't do a disclosure of, nah, people are going to blow themselves up, blah, blah, blah. That tank, I seriously got out of my side yard. It'd been sitting out in the weather for God knows how long with no fuel in it. The thing was rusty on the inside anyway. And he still complained. Bit of common sense. Get your fuel out, rinse it out with water, even fill it up with water when you do your grinding, so then no sparks make it go boom. Let it air out for however long you need. Don't be an idiot, all right? So it's time now, get this one sorted, drain all the fuel out of it and get it ready, measure things up, cut it, and then we can do some welding. Rinse it out with degreaser and then rinse it again with water. Hopefully that's enough, but I'm going to test it. Only one way to tell really, isn't it? I'd rather do it this way than holding a grinder. Happy days. That's a win. Let's get it in the shed, cut it open.
In the boiler bay, getting ready to weld on this Aeroflow sump. I'll pull the part number up for you if you just want to have a look at getting one. Now, having a look at my tank, I've made it so this face is pretty well flush with that face there. And I've sort of dropped it down because this is corrugated. It looks like I've made it flush with the lower section. So I'll get to measuring. I probably trimmed this a little bit too. And the beauty of making it flush with this front face is where then you can blend it in nicely with that and just sort of drop it down. So let's get marking, let's get cutting.
Last time I did this, I knew it was very close here. I have the smallest nick there, but it's not a hole. Last time I actually went through it, so I had to weld the other side. But anyway, small cuts, so I've cut in a bit more in. If I need to trim it, I can. And yeah, now it'll just be probably trimming this and getting it to fit as well. I'm gonna one better than when I did this on mine. On mine, I didn't profile the actual sump to fit the curvature, but I have some cardboard, which I'm now going to make some templates and make this actually fit a lot nicer. New birthday. Not too bad. Not massive gap. So I'll probably have to, I don't know yet, whether maybe I heat that and flatten it down to close that gap, or whether or not I just make up another piece. I think I'd probably rather flatten it so it has a bit of a smoother transition. But yeah, the rest of it, not too bad. Well, that will be able to get filled up with filler. I'm actually going to use the TIG welder on this one. My last one I used a MIG and just kept spot welding with the MIG. Probably not the best in that, like, you're just always going to get leaks pretty much. I think I've done, when MIG's all you got, I've done quite a few times where I just keep MIGging it and it just ends up getting air bubbles and you're chasing it and then you get this big bird shit of weld. So I'm going to pull the TIG welder out for this one. I've TIG welded maybe twice in the last 10 years. Once at Jared's practicing on Ali, and then did another one with Ali out on a mine site up at Olympic Dam fixing a fuel tank. Wasn't the greatest job, but it slowed down the leak a lot. So anyway, you get the TIG welder out now. That's looking good, and get started. Finished product. Sump is on, all welded in. Still need to pressure test it, clean it, get it ready for paint as well. Obviously it's got this old crap on it, and Cocky's pretty keen to get that off and give it a new lease of life and make it look nice. I didn't end up welding this because I was not happy with my TIG welding at all. So figured I'd call in a mate, Suggo. Thank you very much, mate. Do appreciate it. He has his own business called After Hours Metalworks and does everything from earth movement to custom fab stuff and that as well. So have a look on Instagram. I reckon he's got one. I'll chuck it up. And yeah, you can check him out. But yeah, much appreciated, mate. Thank you very much. Even got a new logo on there because why not? I did do all the prep work and everything else. Getting things ready for the trans to go into the car. Need to put the bell housing on. It's an aftermarket bell housing, and I did learn something new about automatic aftermarket bell housings. So you might notice that the bolt holes to bolt it up to the trans are actually the pump bolt holes and not the case bolt holes. Apparently that is how all the aftermarket ones come. So we're going to undo the pump bolts and mount it up. I'll probably buff this paint off as well, just in case. Obviously there's going to be some torsional twist there, and sometimes it can basically, I don't know what you want to call it, like sort of fret the paint out, and if the paint then walks its way out, then things come loose. So that's why it is important to buff your faces if you're mounting solid things that probably will have some torsional twist and move. Alright, on. Now, you'll see here, there's a gap between the bell housing and the case. That is normal, and they are also clearanced for the pan, so there's some millwork on the back of the bell housing there. But that's all done. We'll be able to put our trans mount on there, organise the cross member. Cross member is floating around, except it's dirty, covered in usual road grime, so I've got to clean that. But then trans can go in, and still undecided if we'll do engine and trans together or do them separately. Help has arrived. Got Jared shortening some bolts because even the Edelbrock air gap bolts are too long for the manifold, so I still got to shorten them, which is no issue. So Jared's doing that now, getting everything ready. Found the trans cross member because I couldn't find that for a while because I put it in a too safe a spot, which I'm not used to. Anyway, so today we're going to get engine in, trans in, and then other things we can bolt on as we go, because we're still going to do oil cooler lines, need to get a starter motor, fuel pump, still a fair few other missing pieces, but that will still keep us going, and that's probably my biggest issue is I need help. Got it. So I've marked up the bonnet. Bonnet can come off, and yeah, today engine trans going in. There it is. It's in. Happy days. Another big step, big parts win hearts, as they say. So, big thanks to Jared. Thank you very much, mate, for coming to give us a hand. Now, still got plenty more to do. Where's my list? Here it is. Battery and accessories. That's done. Battery mount is done. Still need to buy those few things. Halfway through that. Engine and trans mounts, they are done. Exhaust still got to do. Still got to buy radiator, fan set up, engine gasket set and oil. I've done that side, still chasing oil. Air filter. I think air filter with those TFC manifolds, as Jared mentioned before he left as well, like he had a trick flow one and he just ran into way too many issues with height. This is the original air filter base that came with this engine. They've chopped holes there, and there's supposed to be a lip on the base there, which they've ground off, and then obviously this sits too close to the carby, so then they've had to cut holes in it for the carby. So the air filter wasn't doing too much because air was just coming through here anyway. So I have another drop base that is actually a bit deeper. So I got that one there. So it will be interesting to see how that's going to go and how thick of a filter will go on that. It is a 408, so we don't want to go too narrow of a filter or too small of one. So we'll see how we go. Fingers crossed we can get it nice and low and won't foul on the bonnet. Don't know if the Landau bonnet, because it's got that bit of a peak in the middle, might have a bit more clearance there. Don't know. We'll have to just work it out as we go. Another piece to the puzzle is this beautiful Rob Mac, or Rob MC, whatever they call it, 1,100 horsepower rated mechanical fuel pump. Now, it looks like it's probably just a Chev pump with an adapter plate to suit Cleveland. But it's, yeah, nice little bit of gear, not cheap, but in my opinion, I prefer mechanical pumps. One, don't have to worry about relays and electrical stuff, and just the annoying buzzing of an electrical pump. So I gave Cocky the option if he wanted to run the mechanical or do an electric pump. He agreed that he was happy to do it mechanical. But yeah, all I got to do is bolt it on and then run the fuel lines, which we've got to do anyway with an electric one. So yeah, in my opinion, you're saving a bit of time and you get better reliability. Don't have to worry about relays and fuses and all that sort of stuff. Not the end of the world, but still. So yeah, let's fit this one on. I think we're going to have a bit of an issue with oil filter. It is quite a big body on these fuel pumps, so might have a trick up my sleeve. Maybe not. We'll see how we go. Beautiful, all on and mounted. Can confirm though. Oh, let's see if we get a better. Yeah, that's only just touching. So close though. There's a good indication how close it is. So on one side it wasn't touching, but the other side it was. And that's probably just enough of the overspray of paint. So it's that close. In all honesty, you could run one of these really if you really wanted to. So I'm going to try, I've got Caterpillar oil filters. Have tried, well, not me with a Rob Mac fuel pump, but I did do a measurement for mate Glenn. He was running a Rob Mac fuel pump too. So yeah, I'm gonna go grab a Cat oil filter, chuck that on and see what it looks like. Here is a Z9 filter. This is the Cat oil filter, and you can see straight away, very different in diameters. So take that. Yeah, buddy, giving us a helping hand. Get on there. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Got clearance. So I'm going to have a bit more of a suss and see, like it is a smaller filter, so you've got less surface area filtering it, but it's not like it's getting chockers full of crap and it really needs it. It's sort of probably a bit more of the oil flow maybe. But I'm going to have a chat to some people to confirm if it's a bad idea or a good idea. Or if it make much difference at all. Otherwise, we might have to go for a external or remote oil filter housing. They're not too bad. I have a old one that I can use as a dummy test as well, but that's just more lines and fittings and that too. So anyway, we'll see how this one goes. Gonna wrap that one up there, guys. Thanks very much again for watching. Now that we've got engine and trans in, we can start plumbing things up and building around it and making it all happen, and then hopefully the next one we'll fire this thing up. Big thanks again to Jared for coming to give us a hand. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you'll get the notifications when part 3's up. All right, catch you guys. Have a good new year.